Yeah, this video is how to keep going, like basically like the emotional game and how to frame things and how to overcome that and how to like stay on the path of all the stuff and how to like continuously execute everything that we've talked about. Is like the way you do that is you like keep your emotions in check and you keep going, you stay on the path. So yeah, like I said, I think it's just as much as an emotional game as it is a skill and strategy game. You're gonna have obstacles. There's gonna be times where you're like, am I an idiot? Like, should I even be doing this? Like, you're gonna feel like quitting, and you're gonna feel like it was a bad idea. And so, like, this is how um, to deal with all that stuff and keep you on the right track. And I think the best way to do this is I'll kind of go through my personal story and every negative thing that I've experienced along the way and how I dealt with those and how I pushed through them. And despite feeling those emotions, I didn't act on them in a negative way. I just I dismissed them, I didn't trust them, and I kept moving. And if you can do that long enough, that's how you win. Because you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out one way or another. You'll test enough things. You'll get better and better. It takes time to get better. So if you can just keep going with like absolutely like keep going and like genuinely truly trying your best every single day, like your true upper limit of like what you can do, pushing yourself daily, eventually you're going to figure it out because you can always try it from so many different angles. You're going to learn new information. You're going to make better every single day. You're going to get slightly better and you're going to learn how to make, and you're going to make mistakes. It's going to be dips and it's going to be ups and downs, and you'll just learn how to make better decisions over time after messing up so many times, because I've messed up a million times. So, and that's like that's perfectly fine. You can mess up so many times and still be super successful. So I'll get into that later. So yeah, best to start with my story and kind of like the negative things that I've dealt with and how I overcame them. And I think anyone can apply those. Don't have to be special in any sort of way, in my opinion. So like, yeah, the first negative is like, looking back, the biggest regret that I've had was wasting time procrastinating and avoiding the decision to go all in because of fear. And it just like, I'm not doing anything when I'm procrastinating, and it's not moving me forward, and I would be further along. It just makes no sense. So I do my best to not do that anymore. But in the early days, I was like, is it legit? Like, before I even started my journey, I was like, I probably wasted like a year and a half, not even being sure if the career path was legit. And I was like, I'm hearing people are making this. I remember I was listening to the Kyle Beats podcast, and I would hear like people like Cody from Internet Money come on, and he would like be like, yeah, I'm like, it's halfway through the year and I've made like 100K or like 80K or something. I was like, okay, cool. If I can like peak out at 100K and that's all I make, like that's the ceiling, but I get to do music for a living. I don't have to go to a job I don't like. I don't have to like listen to anyone. I can just make good music and be fine. That's all I need to know. So like, I think all that really helped me be able to commit. Like what I did, and I don't recommend this to everyone, but at the same time, nearly everyone I can think of, you can totally do it not this way, because I can think of a few exceptions for sure. So, but everyone that I work with closely is like, you just kind of remove the backup plan. So like I dropped out of college because then like what choice do I have? So it was not a choice whether I couldn't get a job. I could go back to college, but I just could not do college. It just like wasn't working for me. So I really had like no choice. And so that like I had to set up so many of these things to get myself to go all in and like truly commit and like not dabble and be like, no, this is the thing I'm doing. I don't care how many setbacks there are. I'm going to eat them and I'm just going to keep moving forward. But you probably don't have to do that. That's what I had to do because like I was trying to avoid it so hard. And I was like, okay, well, better put myself in a sink or swim situation. So I think that's kind of a personal decision, but that's just something, yeah, that I dealt with. And I think if you can acknowledge that and embrace that early on, you might be able to avoid that. And maybe you're like me too, where you got to pull out every backup plan. But I feel uncomfortable advising people to do that because it is fairly extreme. And you got to be good with handling stress, and you got to like really believe in yourself. So, and I do think, so we might get off topic here, but I do think this stuff is super important. Is like believing in yourself is like a skill that you can get better at. So if like you're like see yourself as like a low confidence person, okay, well, try to get 1% more confident every day. And the more you try things, you're gonna start to like, if you can like act while you're uncomfortable and it feels wrong and you know but like logically you know it's the right action to take. If you can do that and continue to do that, then eventually you're going to be like, oh, I kind of know how this is going to play out. And you start to get like, you start to see patterns and and it's maybe not so as complicated as you think once you get into it. And then like that will build I love the saying of confidence comes from competence. But at first you just have to go throw yourself out there and like, you're probably going to embarrass yourself and it's totally fine. Eventually you'll quit embarrassing yourself and then people will be like, oh, well, you're special. Like it just worked for you. And it's like not true at all. But you were just the person willing to go through the emotional like turmoil in that unknown period. And most people aren't willing to do that. Yeah. And then over time, like you'll be like, oh yeah, I know how this is going to work. You're going to see the patterns and you're going to become like more confidence. And then that's going to allow you to bet on yourself even more and make smart decisions and like be like, okay, I can figure it out. So, and then you quit wasting time avoiding going all in because you have now learned, hey, when I go all in, it's scary, but it usually works well. And I can say in my personal life, every time I've been like, kind of like, oh, I'll try a little bit of this, I'll dabble a little this, and I'm talking business, I'm talking music, whatever, then it never goes well. I never get enough momentum to really get going. But then like once I have to like emotionally accept and face that like this is not working and I go 1,000,000% in, that's when every good thing has ever happened for me. It's like 100% hit rate too, at least on like seriously committing to something in the long run. Like yeah, there's ups and downs in the early stages, but like seriously committing like 100%, like I am not sitting on the fence at all. It's like, and I'm doing that with education and with these videos right now. And I knock on wood, we don't know how it's going to work out, but I am going all in. And I can say for sure from this end, the products that I'm developing, I've never been able to do that before. So yeah, so that's one of the things I've dealt with, and that's kind of how I look at things now. So and I think that could be helpful to you guys. So social pressure is like, this one's interesting of like your friends, your parents, your friends' parents, like depending on what age you're at or maybe like your social group or whatever. With entertainment and stuff like this, like they're gonna be initially skeptical. Like I can think of like my best friends or like who are like, well, what are you gonna do for like, are you just like, do you just think you're going to make beats for a living? And I'm like, yeah, I do. I don't know. Always like rub me the wrong way. And like, I'd even make like, I'd be like, show a friend like, dude, I just made like $500 on this. And they would be like, okay, yeah, but that's not like a real job. That would be their first reaction, would be negative. And there's a couple reasons. I mean, I have some theories on that. I mean, I kind of imagine it's like, if someone doesn't have the confidence to bet on themselves, they're going to like tear you down. Cause it's like, if they don't see themselves, it's going to make them envious and like that you're willing to bet on yourself, and it's going to expose them and force them to confront that they're not willing to bet on themselves and that they're afraid to go after what they really want. And then so they'll try to like tear you down. So it doesn't like, because if you succeed, it would be like very obvious and in their face that like maybe they could do what they want and they're being too afraid to chase it. And so they're like, they almost like don't want you to succeed. It's weird. I think that's just how it is. My parents were not supportive of this at all. Eventually they came around, and the only way to get people to come around is to actually do it, like actually get results. Be like, look, I mean, this is going to get, some of the stuff is like, it's not a lie. So I don't want it to come across as arrogant or whatever, but I'd be like my parents, like, they're like, you're making a huge mistake, like dropping out of college. Like, what are you going to do? You're not going to figure it out. Like, you can't pay for anything. And I don't even know why they were saying that. I was paying for everything myself. I was either umpiring or like, I was just keeping my expenses like super low. But then like I would show them, like, I remember I had like $300,000 or $400,000 in my checking account from Beats. And I was like, look at this. And I would show it to them. And weirdly, I quit hearing stuff after that. So basically, don't expect people to be on board. Like if I were to go in hindsight, I'd be like, they just don't get it. Like, they're not going to get it. And they're also not going to spend the time to look into it. Like, they don't care that BeatStars is $100 million a year industry, like beat licensing. They don't care about that at all. They're not going to look into it. They're not even thinking logically. They're thinking 100% emotionally. And so they're just going to be dismissive. If you have parents or whatever, parents and friends that like truly genuinely support you, you're lucky. I feel like that's probably an unusual case. The way to do it is just like, don't expect them to be on board and just persevere, just stay focused. Don't even talk. The way I handled it, I didn't even talk to people about it. I didn't even tell people what I was up to. The way I did it is like, it's a little shady, but this is the truth, so I'll give it to you guys. So I had a programming job and I quit it, and I just told everyone I was working from home and I was working on Beats 24/7. So like, people just quit asking me questions about it, and then I didn't care at all. I was like, okay, well, I better figure it out because I'm going to look really dumb. And I also didn't care about that either. So it's like my life. What are they going to do about it? So let's see. And then the fear of judgment. It's like I didn't want to, like, I never announced on my personal social media pages, like, what I was up to because People are just kind of, it's like inviting negativity that this is hard enough on its own. I don't want to invite more negativity and more resistance into my life. This goal is so hard to accomplish anyways. So why am I going to add more resistance? And also, when someone says something to you, it like just sits with you. It's like, oh, that was so annoying. Like, why is that person even? This has literally nothing to do with them. Why are they being negative? It's just people. They just do it. And so I just like kept it to myself. I started a new Instagram account. I had like my regular like Dylan Auctioner Instagram account, and then I started my Dylan Got It Bumpin'. I didn't tell anyone, but then it was funny. So once you get success and like you're doing well, I'm like making beats for like Rick Ross. And like, then you see all these people starting to like follow you and stuff like that. But I think the ideal position to be in is you're so detached from their approval in any sort of way. Don't care if it's positive, don't care if it's negative. By the time you come around, you're just like, it's meaningless. I think that's the best position to be in. And then this was another interesting one that I think held me back as well. So I remember I put out some type beats and I was like, my stuff is going to be so good. It's going to blow up. And my initial stuff did blow up and I didn't really know why. In hindsight, I could probably explain why. But at the time I had no idea. And I was like, I'm just the best. Like I was young, and this might be a young person thing. I was so just arrogant. Like when you're 18, 19, you're just arrogant. But I was a little older than that. 21 maybe. I was like, oh yeah, I'm the best producer of all time without even practicing. Like somehow, some way that happened. And I like never did music my entire life, and I just thought that was true. And it just obviously is not true. Like I was not good back then. I was good enough to piece together, and I think I like made some social media savvy moves to blow up, to get like tens of thousands of views and stuff like that and sell a few beats. But then what happened is like, yeah, I'm the best in the world. And then I put out a beat and I get like 60 views. That's like a big, like, it's like messes with you when you're like, think you're up here and reality tell you is like, you are way down here. And I think that actually I went away for a few months from posting because it like took me time to like emotionally accept that I wasn't the world's greatest producer without any practice. It was insane, but that's just how my mind worked at the time. And it was like so dumb. I would just like, if you're in that mindset, it's hard to explain this to a young person. Like, I don't even think a young person would listen to it. But if you can relate to that, just stop it and just like humble yourself. Be like, I'm getting the views I deserve to get, whatever that is. And whether it's good or bad, it's like, if you're good, keep doing it. If it's bad, it's like, okay, we got to learn how to get better and just focus on getting better. Just like, that's the way to do it. That's like 3 months wasted that I could have done some like this course took me like, I think it's about 45 days of serious focus, 100% committed work. And I mean, I wasted 2 of those. Just do it. It's insane. So financial struggles. Yeah, I mean, I knew in the beginning, I was good about like, I'm not a high maintenance person at all. So I like just cut everything to the lowest amount of money I possibly could. But there was times like before, like when I was wasting time going all in, like, and I was trying different entrepreneurial stuff, and I'll do something that I see a lot of producers make the common mistake of later, where when I start something, it should blow up immediately or else it's a bad idea. And that just is insane. That is not how things work. It's like, it's much more about skill development and learning how to get good and making something of value to others. That's what it's all about. Not like the one thing and then I can retire. I was thinking like, I don't know. It's like you see in the movies, like any entrepreneurship story or whatever. It's like, I did this one business move and I was good forever. Like Mark Zuckerberg, like started Facebook and he was good forever. It's like, that is not how it works. But so I was bouncing around, and then I think a real like humbling experience for me is like, I went to go buy Starbucks, and I was making beats. And so I was spending all my time making beats. So I wasn't making any money because I also wasn't committed to making beats. And then I tried to go get Starbucks and my card declined. I was like, there should be money. And I look and my bank account was like negative $100 or something. I had no backup plan or anything. And I was just like, that one hit me. That's when I was like, okay, whatever I'm doing is not working. That's like the type of, unfortunately, I needed those negative experiences, like super negative, like humbling experiences to be like, okay, I am not the best in the world at producing music like I thought I was, or entrepreneurship. Like I have to go actually learn this stuff. And so hopefully if you're young and you're watching this, it still creeps back up as you get older, I feel like, but it's like you have enough experience of like, you kind of handle the stuff better and you kind of look at yourself like in a more productive way, I would say. But if you're young and you're seeing this, it's like, hopefully you can avoid that stuff. It just is so painful, not fun. But there's also, I think I needed it. I needed it firsthand. So after that, it was like, I was so excited to make like $400 a month. And I also set a personal rule for myself. This is extreme. I'm not saying you have to do it. I wouldn't make any money other than entrepreneurship. I wouldn't allow myself, because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was like, any time invested outside of that is not productive. Like I don't care if I get money. It's not worth it for me. I'm not getting better at the thing that I really care about. And that's entrepreneurship, and then turned into music and entrepreneurship through music. So I told the story in maybe the original video that you found me from is how I made like 800 whatever thousand off Type Beats. I told the story of like how I like was living on like, I think like $600, $700 a month. So I remember I could make like $300 a day in up hiring. And then like once I started to make like $200 a month, $300 a month, $500 a month from music, I was like, yep, this is it. Like, this is the only way I'm going to make money. And so once I broke that even point, I never really had financial struggles because I was doing what I wanted. I almost felt like I was like retired, even though I was working hard, because I was like, okay, I broke through, like I broke even and I'm making more than I'm losing every month and I get to do what I love. So yeah, so those didn't last very long. And I also, even though my money may not have been crazy. And that's another point that I want to put. And I think like these are all going to interweave together. I was going to have it structured like this, but this may be a better way of doing it, is those small wins of like, oh, I made 200 this month. I'm going to make 300, 400 next month. Then I'm going to cover my rent. I might even have $100 head start the month after that. Like, to me, I was winning every single month. And it was like, and I was like, let's just keep winning. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm so broke. Like, I'm making like $4,800 a year. Like that's what a lot of people would project it out, and they would look at it in the most negative way. Like, of course you're going to quit when you're thinking like that. I was thinking the other way. And to be fair, some of that was like fairly natural to me. I'm thinking once I really committed, like some of that stuff really fell in place, but it was a conscious choice to be like, okay, I don't care about my end goal. I just care about getting better every single month. And that kept me going. And like, eventually you separate, like with that endurance and by being able to think about everything in a positive way and flip all these negatives into positives, next thing you know, you're just outlasting people, and you've been building skills for months on months on months on months that they haven't been, because they've been like negative about things. They've been going back to their jobs. They've been like not investing time because it's like, feels like a waste of time. But if you can flip it all like that, I mean, that was like insanely important. And I think at this point, a lot of that stuff is just like so ingrained into me because it works so well. I just do it without even thinking about it. Like, I'm always excited about the new thing. Like, I'm excited about this course. Like, I'm excited to make progress every single day. That is like really like some of the major sauce to just like keep it going. Yeah. And I also experienced it, like fear of not working out, of like, wonder if I was wasting time and if I ever could get good enough. Like, was natural talent like something that I needed? I didn't know. I had no idea, but I'm like, I'm in. Like, I'm committed. We're going to find out. I'm like almost looking at myself as like a guinea pig, like an experiment. I believe this to be true. I don't want to live in a world where this is not true. So like that you can become professionally good at anything. I've always believed that. And I'm like, do you really believe it? Time to put it to the test. Because you haven't been a musician your whole life. How are you supposed to figure this out? I don't know. At that point, it was just like blind faith. I don't even know what to say about that. And then I would use all those tools that I kind of talked about to just stay on it, So yeah. And I also remember like, what if the ceiling is like 40 grand a year off this? And like, that's fine in the beginning. Like, I don't have any problem. But what if I'm like 40 years old? I remember I'd stay up at night, like wondering about like, what if I'm 40 years old making 40 grand a year off this? And it's like, the reality is my like genuine belief is that if you commit and you're like about it and you are obsessive and you are going all out, that won't be the case for you. But if you keep bouncing around from a whole bunch of things, yeah, that totally could be. So, which is interesting because like this actually leads to this point, is like, the riskiest thing you can do is not make a bet. Committing feels like the riskiest thing. The real riskiest thing is not committing, because that's like guaranteed, like you peak out at like 20 grand a year. And that's like, if things go really well, the only way to like increase your odds of success is really to commit. So it's funny at this point, it's totally flipped to me. Is like when I hear like people, like I get really nervous when people are sitting on the fence and not committing. Like when I'm talking to them, yeah, it's totally like flipped in me over time. Let's see, unsure. So I did have this thing of like, I kind of was unsure if it was legit for me. I knew other people could do it, but I just didn't know if that could also apply to me, because like I said, I wasn't a lifelong musician. I was like, is music like this magical thing that can't be figured out? And in my opinion, it's not. And I think I proved that. Yeah. So this was like kind of when I was wasting time, but once I committed, I was like, oh, okay, this can be figured out. And then, yeah, this was like, I think I was like, this kind of is like an entitlement thing that I had struggled with. And I was like comparing my success to other people, like looking sideways, not forwards, because I'd be like, oh, I'm looking at I don't know, I'd like read a Steve Jobs biography or something, or like Elon Musk, or like I would like look at their current selves and be like, I'm above grinding it out on YouTube, and like I'm above getting 50 views, and it just wasn't true. Like you're not, and everyone starts there too. Like every platinum producer has started at that point, the exact point that you're at, unsure if it's going to work out, unsure if it's possible. I've talked to like some of my friends who are like multi-platinum producers, and they like, I remember one of them, he was telling me a story about how he got a $1,500 credit card for a Guitar Center to get some gear to make samples, and he was like, I had no idea how I'd ever pay that back, and now he's like multi-platinum. So I think everyone goes through that. So like if you're feeling that, just know that it's not unique. That is standard. That is like par for the course. I really believe that everyone is hit with the same emotions, and then it's just how you like, and some people might feel them stronger. Some people might be more of an anxious person than others. I think I'm actually more on the anxious side, and I think I'm more on the worrisome side, but like that's why I had to go no backup plan. Like that's why I had to get rid of all of it. So I think everyone feels roughly the same emotions, and it's your reaction to the emotion that's important, not the fact that it makes you nervous. It does. That's everyone. And a lot of people try to fake it. They try to hide it, especially once they get successful, because they're still nervous, and they're like, I'm too cool to be nervous. And it's like, yeah, okay, I know you're not. No matter how successful they get, they still get nervous. So key concepts, I think you have to make a bet. Yeah. So like literally you have to commit. It is a non-negotiable. I don't know. It's like, stop watching this course and get out today if you're not down to do it, because like your odds of success are zero. So if this is what you want to do, carefully consider all your options and be like, what resonates the most with you? What would you be the absolute most fulfilled and most happy if it worked out? Go for that. Don't go for a second option. Go for a third option, because that's going to be someone else's first option, and it can also not work out. So go for your first one. I hate to get like too rah motivational here, but like I genuinely believe all that stuff is true. The belief that anyone can be professionally good at anything, I still believe that. That is a belief I had in the beginning. That's what put me down this road. It's like, if you really care, you can get professionally good at this. Like I think just about anyone can. Like it doesn't matter how like naturally smart you are or naturally gifted at music. Like if you can outlast people, you can become professionally good at it. I mean, and like now once we're talking to the top levels, there might be like, I kind of use like the metaphor of like Olympic swimming. Like the fact that like Michael Phelps has like 4 inches longer arms than like everyone else is like, yeah, that's in the elite of the elite, top 0.001%, all things the same. Yeah, that's going to give him an edge. But that's what we're talking about. Like, let's say you're in the top like 5% of music producers on the planet. You could probably make $100,000 a year if you are good at the business. So like, you just need to be in that upper top 10, 20%. And like, if we're just talking about like everyone who makes music, anyone who's watching this is probably in like the top 10%, 5% of anyone who ever's opened a DAW, if you're like this deep in it. So yeah, and this is like, you're going to be wrong a lot. That's totally normal. You make a million mistakes and still be successful. And like, actually in my experience, yeah, successful people have made the most mistakes. So a lot of the producers that I coach and that I get in my program, I think per one mistake they've made, I genuinely believe I made 100. And that's like literally, I think the only difference is like that I've made more mistakes than them. So I'm like, oh, yep, that's not going to work. I've tried that 18 different times from 18 different angles. And in hindsight, this is why it didn't work. And this is the one thing I tried that was successful. And then the pattern that I've noticed in the broader market. Yeah, this kind of, so a lot of these points are going to build off what I've already said. It's like, assume you're going to suck at first. Each action you take is opportunity to learn. Yeah, that's like a good way to position it. Is like, instead of being like, I changed like the way I looked at myself when I got humbled so hard. The way I looked at myself wasn't that I'm the best in the world. That was like my identity. And then my identity changed to, I'm just someone who's learning. Like I'm a person who's learning. And my goal is to like learn forever. And I want to learn through experience, and I want to learn from reality. I don't want to just be like scared and avoiding and learn through like just like watching YouTube videos all day, and don't get me wrong, like this information is valuable, but it has to be applied. All learning is potential. And you also aren't going to know what is the real stuff and what is like fluff and what is fake and what is just bad information if you don't apply it. Because not everything you learn is going to be good information. You have to go test it, and then you just keep the stuff that works. Like the only way to truly be a good learner is to apply it and put yourself out there, put yourself on the line, put your ideas on the line, and see how they do. And then you don't get scared like I've done in the past, and you go back to it and like, okay, well, what was the deal here? Like, why didn't it work? Okay. And then usually once you get like emotionally removed from it, like a week or two later, you can kind of look at it objectively and you're like, oh, of course that didn't work. And it's like, okay, I'm going to change that next time. And then if you just keep making those changes, you make those hundreds of mistakes, then you get better and better. And it's like, yeah, nothing is good or bad. It's all just learning. I mean, that's kind of true. You definitely want to win. It's like, I think the sweet spot is to like care about the results, but don't let them destroy you. Cause it does matter. Cause like, this is a thing that I've noticed with coaching people as well, is people become too patient. It's kind of, they avoid confronting the reasons that explains their lack of results. They're just like, oh, it's fine. Like, I'm just learning. And it's like, okay, well, at some point there needs to be results and you need to be succeeding. You absolutely want to genuinely care about the results, but don't do it in comparison to others, and don't let it crush you. Understand that like you care and you're going to genuinely fail. Like, I think a lot of people also like, it's kind of like their like ego, like barrier, they're protective, like they're protecting their ego of like, oh, I'm just learning. Like I'm good, but I'm just learning. It's like, it's just avoiding taking a raw, honest look at your stuff. I notice that a lot. And to me, that's the same as like when I didn't post for 3 months because I like thought I was so great. And like, I was finding out the harsh reality that that's not true. So it's like, you still care, but understand that it's just going to be hard. And I don't know how to explain it other than that, but like, just accept you're going to genuinely try and you're going to fail and you're going to feel dumb, and that's fine. It's just a feeling and you just go right back at it tomorrow. Yeah. That's like, just a way to think about it. That's like been extremely effective in my life. When you have those failures, so it's like, it's great when you're having success and you're on the right thing and you're just like, yeah, keep doing more of it. Numbers are running up. It's amazing. But when it's like, when you are genuinely trying and you're genuinely failing and you like kind of like feel dumb, it's like the only thing you can control is your effort, your commitment, your attentions. Like, just know eventually you're going to figure it out. At some point, you just have to rely on that internal stuff of like, did I try my hardest? Am I fully committed? Are my intentions there? Like, am I genuinely trying to make something really good and valuable for others? If it is, okay, I made a mistake, but I'm going to learn the next time and just keep going. It's like, that's how you kind of manage and deal with that stuff. Yeah. And then another thing, I think like a lot of these funnel into some of the stuff that I've dealt with is like, so this kind of goes into commitment, is like, there's like, oh, I want to be the best at this. I want to be the best at this. I want to be the best at this. I heard a great quote one time and it's just totally true. It sucks. I hate that it's true, but I believe it's true. It's even hard for me to say, but you can have anything you want, just not everything you want. And I think you can kind of change that too. Like, you could be great at anything you want, just not everything you want. Some things you're going to have like kind of more natural inclinations than others. And you might want to like dip into that and leverage that. And that's a great idea. Yeah. You have to sacrifice. And there's like, you can look up like Steve Jobs videos talking about this. Is a concept he really likes. You have to sacrifice something you want to be you really want to do for the number one thing that's the most important, that you would be the most fulfilled and the happiest if you accomplished it. So you have to sacrifice, like if you're doing beats, it's like, oh yeah, I want to do samples. And, oh yeah, and I want to do beats. You're going to figure out which one is really, like, rank order them. Figure out which one is really the top priority, and just, you have to make that sacrifice. And it sucks. I hate it. You can kind of like interweave them. Like, you can do one kind of as a hobby or for fun once in a while, but like your real core thing is going to just be one of them. And it's more from a business and brand perspective. Like, you could probably build up the skills at all of them, but you're just not going to be able to build that brand around all of them. Yeah. And I kind of talked about this of like how, like, just the small wins. We talked about that earlier. And yeah, we talked about how it feels like you're winning all the time, which is great. Not thinking you should blow up. You deserve to blow up overnight. Like, it's like, well, what about your music? Does your music deserve to blow up overnight? And it's like a harsh reality that a lot of people I work with is like, their stuff got views and attention and it didn't sell. And it's like, okay, well, what does that mean? They'll kind of like emotionally try to dodge it and like squirm and get around it and be like, no, it means that your music wasn't good enough to make a sale. It wasn't good enough in the context you're presenting it to get the desired goal that you wanted. That's all it means. There's no running from that fact. You have to like look it dead in the eyes, and people really struggle with that. So if you're watching this, just look it dead in the eyes. Don't beat yourself up about it, but just know you have to get better. And this happens to me, like, still, like, in the last like year and a half, I've focused on doing pop music, and I tried to land some certain collabs, and the reality is my stuff just wasn't good enough yet. And it was really frustrating. I was never mad at the people. I'm like, I'm just not good enough at pop music yet. Pisses me off, but it's the truth. But hopefully, I mean, I think I may have cracked that thing. And if not, if I haven't cracked, like broken the threshold of skill level, then guess what? I'm looking in the mirror. Like I'm looking at myself and I'm going to be like, hey, you're still not good enough. You can get good enough. You just have to really commit. You have to commit. You have to continuously take in like negative, painful feedback and just keep it moving. And this actually leads me to one of these other ones is like a very powerful mindset is like seeking negativity or pain or like negative feedback. If you like, you reframe it to like the way you work out in the gym is like you'll do like curls and it'll be painful, but you know that's building muscle. So if like you can start to seek out almost like negativity because you know it's making you emotionally stronger and it's making your skill set stronger. Once you flip that perspective, it's like different than what you'll hear like culturally right now, in my opinion. Like to seek out the negativity, everyone's gonna be like, oh, you need balance. You should feel good about everything. Make what you want to make. Like you're already good enough. And it's like, well, in a business context, that's just not true. Otherwise you'd be making money. I like seek out when I like find that is actually the direction that I should go in. When I'm like, oh, that sucked. Like I thought I was good enough. I go towards more of that. Like I seek that out. And it's like the thing that I'm like measuring is how much of that can I take? And it's just going to make you so much better. And it's going to make you like down to publicly like expose your shortcomings, which sucks. It always like, we always want to think we're great in every sort of way. And it feels wrong. And it's like, you feel like an idiot, but that's good because it just made you like, it built your character. It made you more emotionally stronger and you just keep going at it. And now once your skill set breaks through, then you'll just be able to hammer it and you're not going to hold back and you're not going to be afraid to do anything because you're already comfortable with the failure. And if you can always flip that in a positive and stay positive about it, then you can keep going. This is an interesting one. You're constantly going to like feel the pull of like comparing yourself to others. Like you'll see someone you like kind of work with and someone maybe that you're like kind of a peer with, they'll get something and then you didn't even know you were interested in it. But now all of a sudden, like once you saw them get it, now you want it. And so it's like maybe they had an Instagram reel blow up and like Instagram reels have nothing to do with your business. And now you see them and you're like, oh, now I want to go make Instagram reels because this person, well, it doesn't apply to your business and it's never did. You were just comparing yourself and now you're like bummed at yourself that you don't have Instagram reel blown up because you saw your friend or your peer or whatever do that. And it's just like, you're gonna feel that way. I think that's a natural human thing, but just be like, hey, that's just like how the human brain works. It's not productive to my business. It has nothing to do with my goals. I feel the pull, but I'm not going to act on it because I know that is just unproductive. And I think that happens a lot. And that can throw people off of like, just like kind of like mimicking like your competitors too much. The people who are like really break through a lot of times and do something original, creative, and innovative and are rewarded for it are the people that are just like, they have their vision. They think about it. It's like very well thought out and they're not thrown off by like all the stuff that's happening on the side. And that allows them to like persevere further. For example, I'll give you an example in my own life is like maybe someone's done really well on BeatStars in the time that I've chosen to put my time into this course. And now I'm like, oh, well, I want to do good on BeatStars. Like now I'd pull myself back from the course. I didn't do this, but like that would have been like the negative way to act to that. Well, now I just like spent time on this course. I'm going to get no result. My course isn't going to get done. And I like for no reason put myself at a disadvantage over here by focusing on the course and not following through with it. So it's just like, focus on what you've decided is important to focus on and try to tune out the noise. And it's going to be hard, but just recognize that it's noise and just kind of like ask yourself, what is the thing that you want to pursue? And don't let other people or other things that you want throw yourself off from that. And here's another thing is like, don't listen to everyone you hear on the internet. You're going to see contradicting opinions from successful people, especially even in your field. A lot of people get paralyzed because they're like, oh, well, this person is successful and he said this, and this person's successful and they said this. And it's like, there's like a possibility they're both right for their specific situations. So, and the way to combat that is to just like find the one you resonate most with and just listen to them and like put on the blinders. And then if they start to go astray, then it's like, use your own intuition of whether you continue to want to follow them. If you don't, ditch them, find someone else to get advice from. So let's see that, absolutely zero back. Yeah. So this like took care of like the fear, like the absolutely zero backup plan. I mean, social pressure. Yeah. What choice do I have? I just have to deal with it. Fear of judgment. I just have to look dumb. What else am I going to do? I need to eat food. So I need to make money. I don't have time to waste time. Like, so financial struggles, yeah, I mean, that contributes to it. Fear of it not working out. Once again, it's like I can be scared, but what choice do I have? So for me, I am not advising this, but this kind of just like took care of all those problems. Like I still felt them. And then I realized these weren't as big of a deal as I initially thought it was. Especially like perfectionism. Like I need to tweak this beat, make sure the mix is absolutely perfect instead of focusing on the things that have true emotional impact on the listener. Once that beat's like 98% perfect, there's no performance difference between 98% and 100%. So it's just like post it. Yeah, common mistakes I see producers making is just a flat out not high enough standard. And I think this probably is just a fear of committing. It's actually, there's a very few people that are going 100% all in. They're not even worried about like making it elite exceptional. If you do make elite exceptional stuff, you actually like have more time like to do other things, like because your stuff like has so much more longevity. So not taking it serious enough. Once again, it's like those people are like, oh yeah, just on the side, it's not a big deal. It's like, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you. If you really want to make this your living, like you can start on the side, but it's like when you get off from work, you are going all in on this and like maybe even staying up a little late. Your work is going to be affected negatively by that, but it's just like, I'm all in on this. So it's too bad. Yeah. And I talked about being too patient as an excuse. Like that, once again, all this stuff is basically deflecting that the music isn't quite there yet. So they'll just be like, oh, it's okay. I know it's going to take time, but it's like, well, no, something should be happening. Like you should be seeing some results. If not, you have to really take a hard look at your music and your packaging and all that type of stuff. And so keep bouncing around looking for like the right path for them. It's like, and thinking that like once they find it, it's just like the gates are going to open up and it's like money's going to fall from the sky once they find the right path, and they just need to try more paths. And it's like, no, all paths work to a degree if you are 100% committed to it and you are 100% about it, but none of the paths work if you don't. There's no right one at the beginning, but just like which one would you be the most happy with, and go for that one, because then you're going to execute in the way you need to. Once again, this has been a common thing, but like thinking their music isn't the issue. This is like another thing I call like checklist brain. It's like you're avoiding critical thinking. It's like kind of just being like lazy, like intellectually, like you're down to physically work hard. You're down to invest a lot of time, but you're avoiding like the hard thinking of like, okay, well, what's the market look like right now? What would be a good thumbnail to choose? And it's like, what's a good strategy? It's like avoiding the strategic thinking because it's like too hard. And I see that all the time. And yeah, and it's like they just want like us, okay, do these 5 things. And to be fair, I am giving you guys checklists, but I'm giving you checklists to encourage critical thinking. So, but they almost want like a formula. They're looking for this like formula that's like going to make it easy and they don't have to think about anything, or they're looking for like the one thing they can focus on. I can think of some people that I know as like, they only focus on retention to avoid critical thinking, like to avoid the things that actually matter to the customer. And like, yeah, it's like, so a lot of like these YouTube videos I've came up with, or these beats that I've came up with, there's just literally no shortcut to making them work. And it's like, the only way to do it is just sit and think for a while. And it's so hard, and it's so painful. It's like almost like when you have like writer's block of like, what's the best move to do? Or like, what should I write about next? Yeah, it's like that stuff. And like people are trying to avoid it, and they just want the formula. They just want to get to making beats, and they don't want to think about the hard stuff. And it's like, well, and they just want the checklist, and they're like, tell me what beat to make. I don't want to think about it at all. It's like, you're screwed. Cause like, what are you going to do when like you don't have someone telling you how to think? Like you should go get a job if that's how you want to think. It's like that hard, like independent thinking is, a lot of people avoid that. So, that's another common thing. And then, so I see being denial that this is a job, and it's like, think it's supposed to be fun 24/7. So a lot of times, like people love this, an example of this is, people love producing music, and like they want to make music all the time. And that's the fun part. And they also want to make it, they don't want it to get boring. They don't want to do something that's repetitive, or that like they have to think about a lot, or that, they just kind of want to like throw some trap drums and have fun, or flip samples, and that's it. They don't want to think about packaging. They don't want to think about Photoshop. They don't want to think about consumer perception. They don't want to think about keeping their customers happy. They don't want to think about any of that. It's just like, okay, well, all that is like a good chunk of your job. I'd say it's like 60%, if not more. It's a phenomenal job. It's an awesome job doing this for a living, but it is still a job. And you have to, and what I mean by that is like, there's things that you have to do that you may not naturally do for fun. And like, it's like an hour or two doing stuff, or even a couple days you have to pay taxes. That sucks. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that like makes you more money and gets you more revenue is not necessarily fun. It's like email marketing. It's like sales. It's like talking to rappers. rappers. Yeah. And like, so when a lot of people be like, okay, well, I'm not going to do anything that's not fun for me. And it's like, well, you can't do the things that are going to make you successful. And I don't know what to tell someone when they do that. So I will tell them that, but we'll see if it resonates. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And then, a lot of these points are a little repetitive, but being ruthlessly honest about where your stuff stacks up. A lot of producers are afraid to confront that, which has been a common theme in this. And I've experienced it myself, so like no judgment. But it's like you gotta face the facts here. Yeah, but once you do it, it's like you come to accept it, and you don't even feel bad about it. And you're like, oh, this is my competitive advantage that I'm not afraid to confront this, and everyone else is. So it's like it really narrows the field of competition. And same with like the people who are not committing. Like very few people do. So this isn't nearly as competitive as people think, especially like people going all in. So because most people aren't committing. But yeah, so those are like kind of like the mental, the emotional game that goes along with this. And I think this is like, I wanted to put this at the end because I think without the strategy, this stuff is just fluff. But like with the strategy combined with this is I think like the perfect combination, and it's all really important, and it all works together. So I think that's the end of this course. So if you like, thank you for purchasing this. I am so appreciative of anyone who did. So if you're watching this and you didn't like rip this online or something, then you're the best. Thank you. And you guys are helping me do more of this educational stuff, which I love, and I would love to do as many of these as I can. So that'll be it. Until next time. Peace.